Hey guys, it's your favorite gold miner, prospector, and geologist, Jeff Williams. And today, that's right, I got you underground. And we're gonna go looking for gold. Not just any gold, but pocket gold. Whoo, that's the best kind. And I'm gonna teach you some geology of why the gold is here and how you can find it too. So let's get into it. We're inside of this beautiful, huge felsic dome, which is basically a rhyolitic dome. And this dome is silicified. And inside of here, we've got these beautiful northeast strike slip zones where it creates these beautiful looking lenses. You see that lens in there? Now I know it might be hard to see on camera, but I've got this, if you look at it, think of an eyeball to a cat. And see how it tapers to the top and it kind of widens out? So this would be referred to as a lens. And in this particular lens, a lot of the gold, the free mill gold, is going to be associated where you see all that beautiful red iron staining. You see it in the back there, and we're going to chip that out here in a minute. But I want you to pay attention, because if you're in any areas, gold producing districts, that the gold is hosted in these rhyolitic domes, you want to look for things like this, because this can give you pocket gold. And this is very economical, and gold being at $3,500 an ounce, it wouldn't take much of it for you to be able to cash in on a nice little pocket. So what we're going to do is we'll take the hammer drill and I'll cut some of this material out. Now as we go deeper into this mine, I'm going to show you some of the newer workings that are being cut down below us, and I think you're going to get a kick out of that. But if you got claustrophobia, I got to warn you right now, you better turn away, because some of these diggings, these are small scale diggings now, remember that, like the artisanal miners. They can get pretty narrow down there. If you're squeamish, you might want to look away. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and take the hammer drill, and I'm going to cut into wherever I see the red staining that's up in there. Then we'll collect it up in our Jackson's Let It Go sample bag. That's right. These are specifically designed for this stuff. And then as along the way, we're going to talk more geology and how you can apply it, so when you're out in the field, you can find gold too. Because once you understand the geology of the district that you're in, it makes it really easy to pinpoint these deposits. And you need to know the type of gold you're going after. So in this particular scenario, the gold is running 60-40, maybe 70-30 if I'm lucky. And what that means is the gold to silver ratio. So when you see the gold, you're gonna be like, that doesn't look like that buttery gold in California. No, because it's got a high concentration or alloy of silver in it. Remember that when you're looking for gold, you need to know the type of gold you're looking for too. Because you might find the mother lode and throw it into the waste pile because it doesn't look like gold to you, but it is. So I know, enough tongue wagging. Get on to getting some gold, Jeff. Our beer's getting warm and our chips are getting stale. Jeez, you guys are a tough crowd. Who needs a jib? Just be a gold miner. Oh, and one more thing I gotta tell you guys out there. If you plan on venturing into these mines to look for some of this lode gold, know what you're doing, or have somebody with you that does know what they're doing. Because right now, I don't know if you saw what it was looking like looking up, but I want you to take a look at these pillars. That's right, those are called permanent headache makers. If one of those pillars comes loose, or even a fragment, oh man, I'm gonna be down here for the rest of my life. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep pounding this out. I gotta negotiate all these spiders in here. They're not too happy. And then we're gonna scoop that up, put it in my professional sample bag, and then we're gonna head down deeper into the newer workings. This has got some good grade to it, but nothing like what's down below. Ooh, wait till you see that. Oh, but I'm not, stop that. But I'm not gonna do anything till you smash that like button. Smash it hard! I know, right? All right, here we go. That's why you wear a hard hat. That's why you wear a hard hat.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
I can see something.
All right, so as you can see, we've made our way down into a little bit tighter spot down here. And where we're working here, I can see a little bit of girthite here, actually a lot. And, oh, I got crickets everywhere. See that? Come here, little guy. And the girthite is after marcasite. You see how that works? It's really cool. And I've got this nice, tiny little fissure here that's got some really good grade in here. And so I'm gonna pull some samples out of here and probably down here. Now, what I've seen mostly in the past is a lot of the higher paying grade ore is gonna be along the hanging wall and not on the footwall, but that's not always the case on every scenario, but that's what I've seen in all my years of mining. So what you're looking for is, like I said, blacks and reds, dark browns, earthy browns, and some of this yellow limonite. And keep in mind, this is in this district. Your district might be different. So that's why you need to do your homework, and you need to use the USGS reports to help guide you, to tell you what kind of gangue material the gold is being hosted in. But in this case, I'm running ore that's about, say 60-40, 60% gold, 40% silver. And it's gonna have a kind of a, I don't know, a dirty looking gold, but gold is gold. And so we're gonna pull this out right here. Now, I strongly suggest you always have somebody up on the surface while you're down below in the workings. Because if something happens down here and you don't have anybody on top, this is where you're staying. So, all right, we're gonna cut some of this out. I'm gonna try to anyway. And don't worry, I got my safety squints on. They're MSHA approved, so I don't want to hear anybody in the audience complaining. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, Jeff, that's all well and good, but what are you going to do to get in here? Yeah, I know, that's a good question. So what you can do is, in my case, my hanging wall is softer than my footwall. And so what I can do is cut this thing out. So what we're gonna do is we will pull out the hanging wall so we can get a little bit more room to squeeze in here. But like always, the more you muck out, the more work it is. So when you're on a small scale, you do the best you can. And that's what we're doing here. So we're hoping that this turns into a nice lens like I showed you earlier, because those lenses can be very rich. And all it would take is a nice healthy lens, not only 3-4 feet long, maybe about 8 inches wide, and it would pay well for us to cut this out. Now, the down part is when you're a small scale miner, you gotta stay on the grade as long as possible, because if not, then you're just digging for fun. So we're gonna take this ladder down and go deeper, and I'm gonna show you what some of the really good ore is. Now, when I say good ore, I'm talking about getting some of this stuff out that runs 19 grams per bucket. That's right, you heard me right. 18 to 19 grams per 5-gallon bucket. That stuff is ultra rich. I'll see if I can get you some of that too. And then we'll take it to the surface, pan it out, and see what we got. No, I'm not gonna do anything until you smash that like button. That's right. No, I know, get back to work, Jeff. You slacker. I'm often reminded of how tight and dangerous working conditions can be for small scale miners, especially artisanal miners in foreign countries. All right, now I want you to see what I'm looking at. There's no ladder anymore, so I got to climb down these stalls, and you can see there's an aluminum ladder down there where we're working and getting out some of that juicy gold. But man, it's getting tight, Bubba. It's getting real tight. But that gold beaver's setting in, and I gotta have that gold. Yeah, I know, enough jaw jacking. So I know you're saying, Jeff, if there's no ladder, how are you gonna get down there? Well, remember when you were in school and they had the jungle gym? Yeah, well, that's how you get down here. Oh, yeah. As you can see, the vein is here along the hanging wall, and I've got some fault gouge, and it's getting soft. And yeah, fault gouge can have gold in it, and I suggest if you're in the mining districts where it says it's in the fault gouge, check it. But regardless, I checked fault gouge and fault breccia. Now, for those of you out there that don't know what that means, fault gouge is basically, and fault breccia, you have two fault planes moving back and forth like this. And what they do is, as it slips and shifts and slides, it'll literally crush the surfaces. And as it does so, it fractures that rock. Why is that important? Well, just like in shear zoning, is that creates the perfect conduit for any type of hydrothermal fluids to come in. A lot of times it'll cement the clast, which is the fault breccia. And if that fault plane continues to move and break up that fault breccia, you'll get a lot of fault gouge. It's almost like a clay. Now, an interesting side note I want to point out is you'll see a lot of kaolin in here, or kaolinite. This is one of the interesting areas that I've seen where you can find gold in that white clay, which is like kaolin or kaolinite. And you'll see that in districts like Goldfield and Virginia City and places like that. If you look here on the other side, you can see the dark material, like I said, is going to be the goethite, which is after marcasite. And right in here, do you see this beautiful orange? I mean, that is what we're going for. And that has got high grade in it. And yeah, we clean it out with one of these guys because they're getting down tight. Come here, take a look at this. I want to show you what I'm talking about. All right, now you see what I'm talking about right through here? That is the pay material. And you can see this still has gold in it here, but this is the one that actually pays. And you see that it's along the hanging wall here. You see that? Now, when you go to take samples of this stuff, in any of these mines, you're going to take a channel sample. And I tell you that all the time. You're going to go from the hanging wall over to the footwall. And yeah, sometimes the gold can be inside. It can be permeated inside the hanging wall or footwall. But for the most part, take a channel sample. If you find gold, you got to isolate where it came from. See how that works? Very, very important. And here, the gold is running in this. You see that? That is a no-brainer. Look at that. And this is the dark material that I was telling you about. This is the goethite. This is after marcasite. And when you see this on druzy quartz, especially if you have bugs, you can actually have beautiful crystalline gold formations in these bugs. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that's what we're looking for. And look, I got some more. See the reds in here? Isn't that beautiful? But it gets a little tight down here. There's my foot for size comparison. That's pretty darn tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut out some of this footwall, and I'm going to put that in my low grade pile, and then I'm going to cut out some of this vein along the hanging wall, and this will go into our high grade pile. See how that works? And over here there was a pocket pulled out right here. It was a nice beautiful fat lens, and it had a lot of gold in it, but then it pinched. There might be one on the other side, but you have to cut through all of this silicified rhyolite. Now, like I said, the footwall's somewhat soft, but it still is hard going. So we're gonna get down here, and I'm gonna see if I can pull some of this material out and run it through a mill. If you get into these old mines, you'll see where a lot of the older workings left off on the outer margins of these stopes. You can actually get in there and you can start sampling and find good grades. Because remember, back then, low grade for them was anything under ½ ounce, because they had to live off the gold they were mining, especially these smaller operations. But a ½ ounce per ton is great for you and I, because gold's $3,500 an ounce, and it doesn't take them a lot of gold to make a ½ ounce. Hey, I got any takers that want to come down here and help me, huh? Yeah, you're gonna have to drop those chips and them pants if you're coming down with me, because gold mining will test your metal every time. Whoo-wee, I know, enough jaw jacking. Get that hammer drill and get to work. And you got some tough ground. Oh. All right, let's see what we got. Now, to most of you guys out there watching this, you're probably thinking that's too tight for me or too claustrophobic. But there are some places in the world where miners actually work underwater under horrific conditions. And that will even give the most seasoned miner a case of claustrophobia. And if you're slightly claustrophobic, I suggest that you skip to the next part.
Biglang napuno ang nahibas-hibas na tunnel sa kanila. Tapos pag kuwan, suminama ang tubig.
Natatakot po. Tapos po yung para po sa pamilya. Magulang.
Nakapa namin ng mga daanan. Hindi pa namin makikita at medyo blind nga. Dilim. Pagdating na sa dulot, malayo na. Hanapin na namin yung maso, muwil, kapa din yun. Tapos yung mga lalagyan ng bato. Hindi na kami kamamaso sa ilalim. Marami nang nasakada.
Natatakot po. Maguho po yung butas, matabunan.
It's like working in a drift mine. Oh, that looks good. That's gonna be panable ore right there. Yeah. All right, so what I'm gonna do is that's if my sample bag doesn't rip. I'm gonna pull this stuff up to the surface, and then we're gonna pan it out together and see if there's any gold in it. That's if it doesn't rip. Yeah, I know, I should have brought a fabric bag. Ooh, that looks pretty good. But I didn't bring one. So, all right, here we go. Yeah, I know, should have used the ladder. Oh, what's that, a rope? No, that's a power cord. Oh, who needs a gym? Just be a gold miner. Now, for you guys that've never been in a mine, these are called stalls. And it's safe to grab onto them as long as they're properly shimmed and wedged in and not rotted. There's many times I've grabbed one and it just broke away. And believe it or not, the old timers used to put platforms on these, and that's what they would stand on to work. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm using the stalls as a ladder as I monkey tune my way up. So, yeah, I know, I can hear from here. Stop all that jaw jacking and get out of there. We want to see some gold. Jeez Louise. All right, now I went ahead and borrowed my wife's fruit ball classifier. Shh. You know, these things work really good. You can get them anywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and pan directly into our little cleanup pan, our finishing pan. I always stress this, if you're working with load gold, you need to put jet dry in the water. But this time, since we don't have jet dry, we're using Dawn, because Dawn gets the grease out. So you put a little in there, not much. And what that does is I get a lot of people saying, Jeff, why do you guys put jet dry or Dawn or any kind of dish soap in there? It breaks the surface tension of the water. Believe it or not, ultrafine gold will float on water, just like a mosquito. So what you want to do is break that surface tension so the gold will drop. And to do that, you put something like jet dry or this in the water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna classify. Now the reason why we classify is because of density. And what I mean by that is you dump a bunch of material into a gold pan, and if everything is the same size, if this is a piece of class and this is a piece of gold, if these are the same size, because gold is so dense, 19.3 times heavier than water, the water will easily wash away this guy and leave the gold behind. But if you got a piece of class in there that's this size and a piece of gold this size, the amount of hydrodynamic force it's going to take to wash this guy out will wash him out before it washes him out. You see why we classify first? So that's why I always strongly suggest when you go to pan, classify, because that way you don't lose any of your gold. Now I've got a relatively small sample here, so I'm really curious to see what I get out of this little tiny sample. I got rocks inside the bag. How is that even possible? Look at that. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the pan and the classifier together. And I'm gonna hold on to this stuff. And the reason why is because there is specimen gold coming out of this particular mine. And now what I wanna do is I wanna either run either a Falcon MD20 or maybe even a Goldbug 2 over it. And then after that, if I don't find anything, I'll run that through a mill and get all the fines out of that. And that's what you should be doing too. So I'm stratifying, and by doing that, I'm shaking all the heavies to the bottom. All the lights come to the top. I'm just gently washing the lighter material off the top. I bring it back in the pan. I shake it to get all the heavies to the bottom. And then the lights, I just gently wash out. You don't got to get all crazy and aggressive with it, especially with lode gold. Bring it back in. And I like these little cleanup pans because they've got these tinier ripples over here. So when I get down to this much material, I can bring it over here and I can use the littler ripples. See that? And I just gently move. And then when I feel confident, I can give it a couple taps. And then I can do the Williams wiggle. And then an Alabama bump. Remember, Hanlons. We're working with lode gold. And I've got about, I'd say 100 fine pieces of gold in there. That is old gold. But that's nice. See that? All chunky. There's a nice big chunky piece right there. That proves my point is if you know what you're looking for in specific known gold producing districts and you've done your homework, you can get into where the old timers left off, or even some of these post-depression era miners, because remember, they came in later in the 30s because, why? They had to feed their families. And if you just follow their steps, their footsteps, and get out there and look around and start poking around and taking samples, sampling, that's the key, that's your mantra right there, then you can get on the gold too. Now I get a lot of questions, Jeff, okay, you got a bunch of gold, what are you gonna do with it? Well, for me, what we like to do is smelt it down into a button and then we'll send it off to a refinery. I'm gonna leave a link down below where you can get 95 to 98% spot on 24 karat gold. And please keep in mind, when you send your gold in, if you don't smelt it down, it could have impurities in it, and they're only gonna give you 95 to 98% on 24 karat. So that's why we like to smelt it down, so we know exactly, pretty much, what we're gonna get from them as far as the checks. And I'll see you on the next video.